Yesterday, Season 14 arrived. We didn't get any new weapons, but we got a bunch of changes. Weapons entered the care package, weapons came out, and there's a brand new crafting rotation too, along with a load of new buffs and changes to overall weapons too. That's what we're going to get into today. Hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to the channel. If you don't know what a tier list is, we start off at D tier and work our way up to S tier, D tier being the worst and S being the best. Now, this is going to work the same as the legend tier list that I made yesterday, which you can click in the top right hand corner of the screen now and go in the description down below if you want to watch that too. I'm not going to talk about every single weapon within the tier list because there's just a lot of changes to talk about. Don't forget that this video also has chapters, so you can skip to see where your favorite weapon is instead of sitting around the whole video. And again, same as last video, I'm sorry for the setup right now. I am currently away, but I really want to make this content and get it out to you guys, so you guys are able to get a jump start on the brand new season because you know what the best weapons are to use in the brand new season. So yes, these are my predictions what are going to be the best weapons this season. And starting off at D tier, we have the P2020 and the Mozambique. Now we always have these two at the very bottom. I'm not going to stick on these any longer. These are what I call the starter weapons. These are weapons that you use at the beginning of the game. They're not meant to be used at endgame. These weapons are the upgradable weapons. You start off with a P2020, make your way to an alternator, then you build up to an R99, and then you go on to an R301. That's what I mean when I say upgradable weapons. So you're not meant to stick with these ones, you're meant to trade them in for other weapons. And like I said, I'm not going to stick on these much longer. So moving straight onto C tier, we have the alternator, the L-Star, the Havoc, the longbow, and finally the triple take. Now, the longbow and the triple take are down in C tier because some of the other marksmen and snipers have gotten buffs, which makes them better than these two weapons. That's the only reason why they're down in C tier. There may not be C tier weapon material, but I just can't fit every single weapon in the top tiers. So these weapons had to be put down in C tier because there are just other better marksman rifles and sniper rifles, so that's why they're down in C tier. Now, the only weapon that had a change in this tier is actually the L-Star. The L-Star has an increased projectile speed, meaning that it takes less time for the bullet to come out of the weapon and hit the enemy. Now, obviously, we're not too sure of how quick this actually is, but it's always a good thing. Hitting the enemy quicker is always a good thing. If it's slower to hit an enemy than other weapons, you're going to be at a massive disadvantage. So the L-Star is at higher C tier because it has a decent buff as the projectiles coming out of the L-Star take less time to reach the enemy, which is a very, very good thing. Now, I want to go with this. It also takes a lot longer to overheat. So I think it's around 25 seconds when it used to be 20 seconds, something like that. So you can shoot more shots as well as your shots being quicker to hit the enemy. So the L-Star is actually a much better position this season than it possibly ever has been, apart from the first season it ever came out where it's absolutely insane. Now, the only reason why the alternator is down in C tier is because I believe it's one of the worst SMGs in the game, but it isn't a bad weapon. But compared to the other SMGs, I can't fit all the SMGs in one tier, so the alternator had to come down. That's the only reason for it being in C tier. It's not a bad weapon. You can use it. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's not as good as other SMGs. Now, speaking about SMGs and ARs, their hit fire has been increased, so it's a lot harder to hit your shots. So the spread of fire is much bigger than it ever used to be. So hip firing is a lot worse of an option to be using unless you have the new laser sight ability, which decreases the hip fire by a significant amount. So moving up to B tier now, we have the charge rifle, we have the RE45, we have the Devotion, Prowler, G7 Scout, Wingman, and Sentinel. Now, this tier is full of changes. Now, you may be wondering why the RE45 is in here. That's because it's now in the crafting. When a weapon goes into crafting, I believe it goes up because you know you can get it 100% of the time. You're not having to rely on RNG to get the weapon you want. If you want an RE45, you can get it. Now, you may be wondering why you want to get an RE45 out of the crafting. But the reason for it is that you get the RE45 equipped with the hammer points. So it goes from an okay weapon to an absolute beast, and you can craft it 100% of the time. So if you want to use this weapon, you can get it. That's the reason why it's a bit beat it. Now, the same goes for the Devotion. The Devotion has also been put into crafting, so if you want a Devotion, you can get it 100% of the time. So for me, that increases the weapon rather than decreases. That's the reason why these two weapons are in B tier. Now, the G7 Scout has come out of the care package and is now on floor loot. There hasn't been obviously any buffs, but it has been reduced. Does a lot less damage and it shoots slower than it used to. Now, the Wingman is a very big change. I think we all know about the Wingman changes. It was leaked quite a while ago, but no one believed it was true. The Wingman is now in sniper class. It's not actually a sniper, it's still a pistol, but it takes sniper ammo and it takes sniper mags. Now, the reason for this is that heavy ammo is very, very common. Not as common as light ammo, though, and we'll get into that very soon. So because it was a heavy ammo weapon, it was very easy to build up possibly up to 400 heavy ammo for your wingman, and that's absolutely insane, and Respawn didn't want that, so they cut it to sniper ammo, and sniper ammo is a lot less common. So you're going to be having a lot less ammo in your wingman, and the sniper mags aren't as big as the heavy ammo mags too, so you're going to be having less shots and less ammo, but that's good for a weapon that is so OP. Now the final change in this tier is actually the Sentinel. Now the only thing that's changed with the Sentinel is that the tempo has been built into the Sentinel, so you don't have to look for the attachment. Once you start hitting a couple shots, your fire rate will increase. That's all that's changed for the Sentinel. So just to recap B tier, we have the charge rifle, the RE45, the Devotion. Them two are now in the crafting: the Prowler, the G7 Scout, the Wingman, and the Sentinel. And the weapons that have the changes are the G7, the Wingman, and the Sentinel. So moving to A tier now, and every single weapon from here on out are the best weapons in the game from A tier and S tier. These are some of the weapons that you should really be thinking about using. So starting us off at A tier is actually the 3030 repeater, the car SMG, the R99, the flatline, and finally the Hemlock. Now only one weapon in this tier has had a change, and that is the 3030 repeater. So for the 3030, the dual loader is built into it now, so you reload quicker compared to the other seasons, so you don't have to look for that attachment anymore. It's built into it, much like the Sentinel, where the tempo is now built into the Sentinel. And also the dual shell does a lot more damage than it used to before too. So if you have a fully decked out 3030, this weapon is going to be possibly the best in the game, and it's something that you should be looking out for this season, because I'm telling you, this season meta is going to be long range and close range. You're going to be using snipers, marksman rifles, ARs with shotguns, and we get the shotguns very, very quickly. Now the car SMG no longer takes the barrel stabilizer, so the hip fire is not as insane as it used to be. That's the only change for the car, but the weapon itself is still pretty damn good. Now, none of the other weapons in this tier has been changed, and we all know why the R99, the flatline, and the Hemlock are all in A tier, because these are some of the best weapons in the game, but I'm not putting them in S tier, and that's what we're going into now. So for S tier, we have the R301, we have the Eva 8, we have the Peacekeeper, we have the Spitfire, and finally the Volt SMG. So we're going to talk about the Volt SMG. The damage on the Volt was reduced from 17 to 15, so it does a little bit less damage, but we all know how good the Volt is from previous seasons. This weapon is just absolutely insane. I'm very happy it's back on the floor loot. So if you're looking for an SMG to use, it's probably the Volt you got to look for. Now, Spitfire has been changed quite a bit. So the recoil has been increased, so it's harder to control than other seasons, and now also takes light ammo, which is a positive. So the nerf was that the recoil is harder to control, and the positive and the buff is that it is now in light ammo. Now you may be wondering why it's actually a buff going from heavy ammo to light ammo. Light ammo is the most common ammo in the game, so if you're going to be using a Spitfire, you can easily carry up to 400, 500, possibly even more ammo in your Spitfire, so you're not going to be running out anytime soon. Now the only other change in this tier is the Eva 8. Now the Eva 8 for me is always possibly B tier, maybe even A tier. Now the reason why it's in S tier now is because it had a pretty big buff. Now, I don't know where to put it, either in front or behind of the Peacekeeper. That's why I put them both in the same tier, because they may be runners up. They may be competing for the best shotgun in the game. Now, what's actually changed for the Eva 8, I'll get into now, got my notes up. So the Eva 8, the improvements to recoil, so the recoil isn't as much, which I wouldn't even said the recoil was insane before, so it's even easier to control now. It now takes the stock. Now, it doesn't actually say on the patch notes what the stock will do, but we all know what the stock does in general. Easier to control, and it will also increase your reload speed as well. It's remove one pellet from the pattern, which technically makes this an Eva 7 now, not an Eva 8, because it used to shoot 8 pellets, but now it's 7 pellets. The fire rate has been increased on the base weapon, but not only that, the fire rate has been increased for each tier of the shotgun bolts too, but the overall pellet damage has been increased as well. So even though it has one less pellet from before, which would decrease the damage, they've increased the damage, so it does the same amount of damage, just with less pellets. So it may be harder to hit your shots or harder to hit all the pellets. That's about it. Now that's some huge changes for the weapons this season, but I am going to recap the whole tier list, so feel free to skip this to the outro so I can talk about some of the upcoming changes for the channel too. So starting off at D tier, we have the P2020 in the Mozambique. C tier, we have the Alternator, the L-Star, the Havoc, the Longbow, and finally the Triple Take. B is the Charge Rifle, the RE45, the Devotion, Prowler, G7, Wingman, Sentinel. A tier is the 3030, Car, R99, Flatline, Hemlock. And finally in S tier, we have the R301, Eva 8 Shotgun, Peacekeeper, Spitfire, and finally the Volt. So that is going to call it for today's weapon tier list. If you want to see the legend tier list, I'll have it back in the top corner of the screen now and in the description down below. If you want to see more content from me, I'll have a gameplay playlist in the pinned comment down below. So if you want to see more content from me, that'll be in the pinned comment down below. If you did enjoy this video, make sure you do leave a like, because dropping a like helps this video push out to the people who need to see the most. So if it helps you, by dropping a like, it helps someone else. We are 50 subs away from 2,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely insane. Thank you guys so much for your support. Once again, I am sorry for the setup, I am away, but I really want to get this content out to you guys so you know what the best weapons are for the new season. And again, if you watch this video, in the description down below, you'll also know what the best legends are for the new season too. So that has been my predictions, or what I predict will be the best weapons in the game within the new season. Thanks for watching. Once again, it's been my pleasure. Until next time, keep dominating legends.